Today we're going to disassemble and clean a Savage Arms Model 64 22 long rifle semi-automatic. We're just going to disassemble it as per the Savage manual for cleaning purposes. The tools for disassembly, you're going to need a medium-sized regular screwdriver, a number 2 Phillips, a 5/32 or 4mm Allen wrench, and a 7/16 box wrench. First step, as always, is to unload the rifle. We're going to remove the magazine, lock back the bolt, verify that there is no round in the chamber. After verifying unloaded, we want to release the hammer from the sear, which means we need to press the trigger. Take the gun off safe, verify it is pointed in a safe direction, and press the trigger to release the sear. Now we're ready to disassemble. Okay, so first we're going to remove these 2 screws down here, and these are 5/32 Allen head screws. Now we can lift the entire assembly out of the stock carefully. Next, we want to remove the magazine housing assembly right here. Let's get a Phillips screwdriver. And then we need a relatively large standard screwdriver. A magazine housing comes right out like that. Next, we want to remove the barrel from the receiver. So for this, you'll need your 7/16 box wrench. Okay, comes off, takes off this little bracket here. Gently pry these pieces apart. And here is your extractor. That's just press fit into here. You can pull that off. And then now we want to remove the bolt assembly. So you can just slide that forward to where you can get a hold of it, and then pull this bolt handle right out. Now you can get a hold of this and pull this out. The manual recommends you do not disassemble this assembly any more than it is. You could pull that piece out though. As far as disassembly for cleaning, this is as far as you need to go. Your Savage Model 64 22 long rifle is now disassembled for cleaning. So the way I like to clean my guns is I take one piece at a time, and then I'm going to coat it with something like original gun oil, which is a CLP, a cleaner lubricant protectant. Original gun oil does not have any odor and it's non-toxic, so it's really safe and easy to use. You could also use Hoppy's number 9. It's a stronger cleaner, but it's got a really strong odor to it. I like to put it in a solvent dispenser, and what this does is you can press down on here and it brings up a little puddle of solvent to the top. It's a pump dispenser. Alright, so I'm out in the garage now, and what I'm going to do for the bolt assembly as well as the receiver is I'm going to use Birchwood Casey gun scrubber to spray these clean, because they have a lot of little nooks and crannies that are hard to get into. I'm going to just put a little piece of electrical tape over top of this little paint spot here, just to keep that from getting damaged by the chemical. Just going to take that extra precaution. Alright, so I'm going to do this right over this trash can here. Just going to put a glove on. I'm going to start with the bolt here. I'm going to spray this all around and get it nice and clean. Going to get a paper towel and wipe it down. Still see a little bit of stuff in there, so I'm just going to spray that down one more time. And I'll examine this later after it's dry, and we'll get anything that's left over with some solvent. Alright, I'm going to do the same with the receiver here. Alright, we'll let this sit and we'll get any spots that were missed with the gun solvent and some cotton swabs. After spray cleaning the bolt assembly, this looks pretty darn good. Extractor works good. This is good enough. We're going to leave that. The receiver, it looks pretty good. There's a little bit of residue in there still, but I'm just going to do a little extra cleaning here. I'm going to get some cotton swabs I'm going to clean this with a little bit of this original gun oil so that any residue it leaves behind is just going to help kind of lubricate things. I'm just going to do a quick wipe down in there. It's going to bring up a little bit of dirt there. I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. I really like these wooden tip cotton swabs. You got a pointy end and a larger end. Just get all the surfaces that look like they might be a little bit dirty. The manual does not actually have instruction on taking the trigger mechanism off of the receiver, but I'm going to do that anyway. There's not much more to it here. You just pull that bolt out. It just lifts up. Going to get a little gun oil and clean this up as well. Alright, let's uncover that taped area. Yeah, that came up nice. No damage to the paint. I would clean this definitely with gun oil because you want this mechanism to have a little bit of lubricant on there. Alright, I think that's good. I'm going to put this back on here. Screw that back in there nice and tight. Alright, I think we're done with the receiver now. Now we're going to clean the inside of the barrel. So we're going to need a rod. In your gun cleaning kit, you're going to have a rod that comes in pieces like this, and they just screw together. So you want to put enough pieces together so that it's long enough to go all the way through your barrel. To put on the end of the rod, you're going to need a little loop like this, or what they call a jag if you just want to push the patch through, but I like to use the loop so it holds onto the patch. This is a copper brush that we're also going to push through there to loosen the dirt. Then you're going to need patches that are made for your size barrel. This is a 22 rim fire, so these are made for this size barrel. If you use a patch that's too big, you're going to have an extremely difficult time pushing it through. And if it's too small, it's not going to do the job. The solvent we're going to use is Hoppy's number 9. I like to put it in a Menda solvent dispenser. You only need to use a little bit at a time. It's a pump dispenser, so when you press this down, it pumps a little bit up into the dish, and you can use it, and it keeps the rest of it from getting contaminated. Make sure you use gloves, and you might want to do it outside if possible. I'm going to put the little loop on the end. So first step is we want to wet the inside of the barrel with solvent to let it start cleaning up the barrel. So I just put a patch in here like this, and then I'm going to just dip it in the solvent, and then I'm just going to push it through the barrel just to get the inside of the barrel nice and wet. I'll do that a couple times at the beginning. A little more solvent on there. So just push it through, and then I would let the barrel sit for a few minutes to let that solvent start to do its job. After your barrel has been sitting for a few minutes, we're going to put a brush through there, so you can take this little loop off the end here and put on your copper brush. Make sure the brush that you have is appropriate for your caliber. So this is for a 22. So we're just going to dip the brush into the solvent, get a little solvent on there, push the brush through. It's going to be a little bit of a tight fit, and that's good because that's going to really help clean it up. At the end, pull it back through. Just push it through and pull it back a couple times. After we do that, now we're going to take the brush off the end, put the patch holder loop back on there. Now we're going to push through a couple more patches, and these patches are probably going to come out pretty dirty because now we've loosened all the dirt inside. Alright, pump up a little more. Alright, that came through pretty dirty. So now we're just going to keep pushing patches through with solvent on them until they come out relatively clean. When your patches start coming out pretty clean, just start pushing dry patches through. Wipe down the rod to get all the solvent off of there, and then start just pushing dry patches through to start cleaning up all the solvent and any remaining dirt. Eventually your patches will come out dry and clean. That's pretty clean. After we clean the barrel, the Savage 64 manual recommends putting one more patch through the gun with some gun oil on it. I'm just going to push one patch through the barrel with original gun oil on it. I'm just going to send it through nice and slow, and then finally says to put a dry patch through to soak up any of the extra oil. So we just want it to leave a very light coating of oil on the inside of the barrel, and that's mostly to prevent corrosion. Alright, we are now done with the inside of the barrel. As far as the outside of the barrel goes, I'm just going to use a cotton rag. I'm going to put a drop or two of oil on the rag. I'm just going to wipe down the entire barrel, especially up here at the end where it connects into the receiver. We want that to be clean, as well as leave a very light coating of oil on that. That's everything pretty clean. Alright, I am now done with the barrel. Here are the pieces I have left to clean. I'm just going to get a cotton rag with a little bit of gun oil on it to clean up the rest of these pieces here. Just wipe them down with oil and kind of wipe them with a dry part of the cotton rag. Just give everything a quick wipe down. This way they're not only clean, but it's going to leave a very light coating of oil to help keep everything lubed up a little bit and help prevent corrosion as well. This housing, I'm just going to put a few drops on that, kind of get a brush, kind of smear the oil all around, and then we will wipe it off. Going to send the rag through to clean the inside up, and the inside's pretty dirty. Now we're going to lubricate and start to do some reassembly. So the manual calls for lubricating all metal surfaces. So rather than just kind of pour a bunch of oil on here, I'm going to put some oil on a rag, and then I'm just going to kind of wipe down all the metal surfaces. So we don't want too much oil. We do want oil on all the parts that are going to be moving against each other. Anywhere where you have exposed metal, you want to put at least a tiny bit of oil on here. This is the firing pin that's going to go into the bolt. I'm just going to kind of wipe this with a little bit of oil on the rag, and then this firing pin goes into the bolt just like that. With the receiver, I'm going to kind of do the same thing. I'm just going to put some oil on the rag. Let's wipe down some of these pieces that are going to be covered up. I'm going to go in this opening a little bit, a couple drops on the tip, and since the bolt does slide within this receiver, I'm just going to make sure a little residue of oil in there as well. Put a drop right here in the trigger assembly to drop, and then I'm going to wipe off the excess. That'll work its way down in there. Slide the bolt back into the receiver. This curved side goes down. Make sure your firing pin is in there. We're going to put it into about here. Just going to get a little oil on the cocking handle, and that's going to go back down in here. Move the whole thing back to there for the moment. Let's get this clamp, a quick coating of oil, a little bit on the bolt here. Put the receiver and the barrel back together. But we have to take care of this ejector. Just wipe it with a little oil. The ejector sits in this slot and it goes this way. So the notch kind of goes right at the end there. That should sit in there just like this. This should be pretty smooth here. Shouldn't be sticking up any. Okay, and once you get that on there, I would put just a tiny drop of oil here. Just kind of smear that around. Again, with original gun oil, it's non-toxic. You don't have to worry about getting it on your hands. I'm putting this here just to help it go back together a little more easily. Slide your bolt out so you can easily get to this slot right here. This slot is where the ejector is going to go. So kind of put it together like this, and then kind of push the barrel in. Keep it lined up, and just don't twist it too much because you got that ejector in there. You don't want anything to bend that. You can see where the slots are. Allow that to go back a little. Slide it in until the notch in the barrel lines up with this notch right here. Okay, once you get the barrel in just about far enough, now you want to take the cocking handle back and lock that in place. Otherwise it's going to kind of push against you as you put things together. And then just line up this notch right at the bottom here, and then this piece is going to sit in just like that, and then this bolt. I'm going to screw in right from the top and snug that up. Don't crank it down with all your strength, just get it pretty snug like that. Alright, we want to make sure the bolt closes and moves back and forth nice and smooth like that, and it does. Now that we have the barrel reinstalled, next we're going to take the magazine housing, put this back where it belongs. This piece and this washer goes here. Get that finger tight for the moment. Then let's get this other screw in here. Probably need a screwdriver to get that in. There's a little bit of a tight spot here. Let's tighten both of these up. Tighten that up pretty good. Standard screwdriver. Alright, maybe one drop of oil here. Kind of brush it into that mechanism here just so, and then wipe off all the excess there. Alright, I would also make sure that this screw is still snug. Tighten that up a little bit. The only thing left to do is place it back into the stock. So this is a wood stock, so you can just wipe that down with a rag, maybe a slightly damp rag. Just make sure it gets dry before you put it back together. Get that nice and clean. We're just going to line up the trigger with a hole on the bottom. Just drop this, drop it in like so. Goes in like this with a little notch up front. And tighten up the bottom screws. Now these two screws do hold the entire mechanism to the stock, so you want to make sure these are pretty tight. You just want to check these every once in a while as you're shooting your gun to make sure nothing loosens up. Alright, and that is about it. Now the gun is back together. Make sure things seem to be working. Pull the slide back and let go to make sure it snaps forward and everything seems to be normal. Now we're going to clean this magazine as well, but right now we just want to make sure it goes in and stays in and comes out when you release it. Alright, and making sure the gun is empty. Make sure your trigger functions. Alright, if you found this video helpful, please hit like below. Please subscribe. Check out the links in the description below for all the products that we've used in this video. And thanks for watching.